Okay guys, no one likes a limp pickle. So today we are going to get your pickles hard. So I got this recipe from a neighbor, Judy, who's been using it for many years. Her mom used it and her mother's mother used it. So this has kind of been handed down. The pickling book that she had has been handed down for several generations now. So it's a tried and true recipe. So that's the one that we're going to be using, and we're going to have hard pickles. So I went out in the garden, I grabbed a bunch of my cucumbers. I put them in a bowl of cold water in the fridge overnight. I am using lemon cucumbers rather than the standard pickling cucumbers that you see in the grocery store. It just happens to be that's the cucumber that I use and I really like. I had harvested, one of the videos, the link will be below, I harvested all my garlic earlier this summer. And so I went and grabbed one of the heads of garlic, and I'm going to be using that in the recipe. Now, if you're looking for a really good garlic, Garlic Gods is where I would go. I will also link that down below so that you have access to that. But the garlic that they have is phenomenal. I can't tell you how great this garlic tastes. I've been using it in all kinds of recipes for cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I definitely like those. I was going to replant some of the garlic that I harvested, and it turns out I'm eating way too much of it and I'm not going to have enough. So I just placed another order with Garlic Gods, and I should be getting that in so that we can start planting those later this month and have another crop next year. So we're looking forward to that. A couple other things that I went and grabbed, some hot peppers and some, sorry, they're all wet. Don't mind my wetness. My grape leaves, I grabbed 6 of them because I'm going to be making 6 little jars of pickles. Now we don't need a lot of pickles, so I'm not making a huge amount of pickles, but I'm definitely wanting some. I want to try this recipe out. And I went and grabbed one of these, they're cucumber cutters, but I don't think it's going to work for what we're doing today. So I'm going to have to cut these by hand. So I'm going to do that, and we'll see you in just a minute. Okay, so the lemon cucumbers are not ideal for pickling, but that's what I have, and if that's what you have, that's just fine. If you're thinking that you have to follow recipes exactly to the T, don't. I found a nice group on Facebook called Rebel Canners, and they tend to kind of go their own way. So they don't follow the exact guidelines, say in like the ball canning book. Rebel canners tend to kind of go off their own, and I found that there's a lot of stuff that you can do that you don't have to do exactly how it's written. One of those is lemon cucumbers. They're not ideal for canning, they're not ideal for pickling, but they'll still work, and I think that they'll do just fine. So we're going to continue on with our lemon cucumbers that are So the recipe calls for 1 quart vinegar and 3 quarts water. I'm using about half the amount of the recipe, so I'm going to be doing half a quart of vinegar and only 1.5 quarts of water. So I'm going to measure that out and put it in the pan, bring it to a boil. My jars are in the pan, getting hot and sterile, and we'll move from there. And we'll bring this to a boil. So now we have a few minutes to spare. Let's get some wine. So if you're familiar with this area, you'll know that we are very close to Saint-Chapelle. And I gotta say, they have some of the most fantastic wines there. I really like some of their reds, whites, their Riesling is really good. And they have this very unique one, huckleberry. It's called soft huckleberry, and it's gotta be by far my favorite. This one's a soft red, but cheers. One of my viewers sent me a link to a book and said that he really recommends that I get this book. So I absolutely went and did it. So I am really looking forward to checking this out and finding some recipes. I found some already for beets. If you know, if you've seen any of the other videos, I like beets. Wes does not, but I do. And I'm super excited about trying these recipes out to see what works and what doesn't. But it's a really long book about fermenting foods. And if you know anything about fermenting foods, I learned quite a bit about fermenting when I was fermenting my chicken feed. And what it does is it releases more nutrients. It creates other nutrients that you wouldn't normally have in those foods. And it helps create a better gut flora in us. So I'm super excited about trying fermented foods. Vegetables, it has some for herbs, so that'll be really neat to be able to add some herbs to stuff. Because you know me, I'm herbal Amy, I love herbs, so we're gonna try some of them out and see how they work. So my cans are in the pot. Very hot and sterile, so we're going to grab some of those and we're going to start putting our ingredients in the cans. So I'm going to try and pack as many cucumbers in this jar as possible. Again, my cucumbers are not exact because they are lemon cucumbers instead of the regular pickling cucumbers. So their shape is a little bit different, but I think it'll work just fine. They're going to be a little odd. So when you're looking at the jar, it's not going to look exactly how you would typically see a jar of pickles. But I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm getting as many cucumbers in here as possible. And then I'm going to take 1 clove of garlic that I got from Garlic Gods. I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to put 1 of the peppers I harvested from my garden into the jar. If I can fit it. I packed a lot of cucumbers in there. And then the recipe calls for 1/8 of a teaspoon of alum, but I'm using half the size of the jar. So I'm going to use half of 1/8 of a teaspoon. So we're going to have to just kind of now I don't know where it's at. And just like that, it's done. And there you have it, all done. So in about 30 minutes, I was able to get 6 jars of pickles, and they should be ready and not too long from now. And then I'll let you know how they turn out. In the meantime, I'm gonna leave some links down below so that you have access to some of the stuff. I do have the recipe written in the notes down below, so you can do this yourself. Again, lemon cucumbers were probably not the best cucumbers for this, but they definitely are gonna work anyway. And if you want any garlic, definitely go to Garlic Gods. They are located in Idaho. They can ship to all 50 states. They are certified disease-free. That's one of the things that they have to go through. They get tested annually to make sure that they don't have any diseases on their plants. Garlic is one of those that if you buy from the store, the possibility of having disease when you plant that garlic is pretty high. So their stuff is certified and you can grow it in your garden. So definitely get in touch with them, get some garlic from them. It is the most fantastic stuff, delicious. Stay tuned because we're going to be doing another video. We're going to show how to cure rabbit belly flaps. That's one of the things that I wanted to learn how to do, was make my own bacon. And you don't have to make bacon from pork. You can definitely make it from rabbits. Just like ground rabbit meat, you can make into sausage. Chicken you can make into sausage. There's a lot of different things. And let me show you the book that I'm using for this because it's really neat. So it's an older book, but when I started looking through it, I found that the recipes are very, very easy. So my next one is going to be honey cured bacon, except I'm not going to be using pork. I'm going to be using rabbit belly flaps. So stay tuned. I'll definitely show a video of us doing that. And until next time, I guess we'll see you again. Thanks for joining me on my adventure. Bye for now.